Welcome, everybody, to the Pink Ribbon Roller Coaster. We're so glad you're joining us today. I have a special guest. Her name is Elizabeth Young, and she's new to the Project 31 community, but I am really enjoying getting to know her, and I think you will too. So, Elizabeth, welcome. We're so glad you're joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank
So
you.
she is a licensed professional counselor, and I recently met her at our Stillwater campus. She is a good friend of one of the leaders there, and she came and she did a really great talk. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I work for a nonprofit in Stillwater called Stillwater Interfaith Counseling Center. And our mission statement is that we will provide professional quality counseling to every client, regardless of ability to pay. Hence the nonprofit, hence we do a lot of fundraising. We subsidize the cost for those who cannot afford it. And we have a sliding fee scale that's based on annual income so that those who can afford it do pay, those who can't pay less. And we're also priced on the low end of the Stillwater price range for mental health care. So, but our heart is to make sure that nobody can't get what they need simply because they can't afford it. That
Love
shouldn't be a
that.
barrier.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I'm also involved in my church here in the community. I'm a leader in our marriage ministry at church, and the focus there is to help couples build solid foundations and healthy marriages kind of from the ground up,
Mhm.
and to be able to thrive in that. I also do marriage counseling in my practice. So when couples aren't doing well, I get that. I get it. I see it. I understand it, and am able oftentimes to help with some of that too. So those are some things that are important to me. Obviously, mental health matters. I've been married for 36 years. My husband and I have two children. They both live on the West Coast. They're in their 30s. That's just scary to say. No grandkids yet. Maybe sometime soon. Um, so yeah, so we're empty nesters. We came to Oklahoma 15 years ago. And
Wow.
no, is that right? No, 10 years ago. We came in 2015. We came 10 years ago from the Pacific Northwest, which is where we raised our family. So this was a big culture change for us. This was a big change of life because that's when our youngest was in the middle of her college years. And so this season of life has been just a good, rich one. Lots of growth opportunities for us individually and as a couple.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's really good, and I'm really excited to be able to connect with you and the group, the project that you have going. Can you tell me how long you've been doing the podcasts?
Well, we've been doing it probably, I'm guessing now I'd have to go back and look at the original, but at least 3 years.
Okay. So it's new-ish
Yeah,
to you've been
yeah,
doing Project 31 for
10 years.
like
Yeah,
14 years,
yeah,
15?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I started back in 2011, but then it grew into support groups started in 2015. So
2015.
where we
Okay,
started, yeah, in all the
okay.
hospitals. So we've been around for a little bit. We just had our 10-year anniversary at Paint the Town Pink this past October. So it's been awesome to see all the different people that have been able to, I think, be impacted and feel connected to community, which is what's important to us. And
Yes.
today I wanted to really so you had come to Stillwater recently, and we did a practice of gratitude, and I really enjoyed it. So that's what we're going to focus on today is
Okay.
gratitude. So if you can go ahead and just tell us about the process that you go through
Okay.
and
I'd
some
love to.
ways that we can do that.
Okay, I would love to. Can I say one little thing first? Because I'll forget later. When you talk about this idea of support groups, I am a huge fan. I am a huge fan. I'm a believer in support groups. I believe that we need people who are going through what we're going through, both with, ahead of, and behind us in
Hmm.
that journey.
Hmm.
And when we connect with those people, our journey becomes a different type of journey, and it's better. It's
Yes.
better for having
Yes.
that connection. So I just want to say I love what you do. I love
Thank
this
you.
idea of creating these support groups, and am excited to see how it can grow here in Stillwater. Okay, on to gratitude. So gratitude. I think when I came and talked at the group, we were right on the cusp of Thanksgiving, if I remember right. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, let's talk about being thankful, right? And I
Hmm.
think most of us have had or do have an idea of what it is to count your blessings or be thankful or realize that we're blessed, right? We know these things. And that's good. It's good to count your blessings. It's good, it's helpful to be thankful, to have a thankful spirit, right?
Mhm.
Practicing gratitude is a little bit different. And let me just describe how I would do it, because that's probably the best way. So I would have, I'm just going to grab a journal here real quick because I have one close by. Yeah, Snoopy. Um, I kind of keep a back stock of journals that I find on discount or clearance. Whenever I find a journal I like, I'm like, oh, I like that one. I'm going to keep it. And then I keep a gratitude journal. I keep it with, I spend time in the mornings, usually some time with reading the Bible and praying and doing some different things around my faith. At the end of that time, then the last piece is practicing gratitude. And so that would look like me flipping open the book, finding where I am in the book, writing down the day and the date. It's just what I do. And then writing the number one. And then after I write the number one, I just hit pause for a second and I think, what am I thankful for? What am I thankful for right now? What's something that just comes to mind? And it's really interesting doing this daily over many years. Like it's interesting the things that will come to mind as what I'm thankful for. It could be something significant, like maybe a friend. So I had this sweet moment with a friend yesterday, like in the middle of my afternoon. And I haven't really thought about it since. It was sweet, but I haven't thought about it since. But then as I sit down to practice gratitude this morning, I think, oh my gosh, I am so, how blessed am I to even have a friend? How blessed am I to have a friend who would go out of her way on a ridiculously cold day just to come back in and wrap her arms around me and tell me how much I mean to her.
Mhm.
What a gift that is. And how it felt. I go back to how it felt when she did it. And I feel that feeling of, wow, this is a gift. This is something to be so grateful for. And I can't take it for granted. I cannot take for granted. I would be a fool to say, oh yeah, everybody has that. Oh yeah, I have friends. Great. No, that's a gift. So I sit in the gratitude. I
Okay.
sit in the gratitude.
So when you're saying you sit down and you say, what am I thankful for? We're not looking for, oh, I'm thankful for the sunshine today. I'm thankful for, or are we looking for that?
So that's the thing. The the list is endless. First of all, we all know if we really, really thought about it, the list of things to be grateful for is pretty stinking endless. But
Yes.
it's not important which part of the list I'm on. It
Okay.
could be, I could be sitting down to practice it, and it could be, I could be noticing because I usually do it in my kitchen and there's some big windows in there. I could be noticing how gorgeous the sky is and how
Okay.
blue it is. And I know that it's like, oh, it's 65 degrees out today. It's going to be a lovely day. And I could be grateful for such beautiful weather, right?
Mm.
I could. And that's it's not, it's like there's nothing too trite. There's
Okay.
nothing too big. There's nothing too small. It doesn't have to be big.
Okay.
What it needs to be is something that once I've identified, I am thankful for this, then I sit in it. And and maybe to help describe that a little bit, what does it mean to sit in gratitude? If I'm not a big tea drinker, but I have friends who are. So when you're making a cup of tea, you have this tea bag, right? And it needs hot water in order to release what's in the tea bag and combine with the water. And so I can make a cup of tea by putting my bag of tea in the cup and then pouring hot water in. And then I can say, oh, good, I made tea, and I can take a quick sip. It'll taste like tea. It'll be tea-ish. It may not be very rich. It may not
Hmm.
be very impactful, but it'll be
Hmm.
tea.
Hmm.
But if I let that bag steep, if I
Hmm.
let that bag sit in that water and kind of just the water flows through it, that releases something that's beautiful, rich, colorful, right? Aroma,
Hmm.
the taste, the
Hmm.
color of the tea begins to steep in the water. And then I can pick up that glass or cup and I can drink it, and I'm going to get a much different experience. That's
Yes.
kind of the difference between listing what I'm thankful for and practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude is more like steeping. It's
Hmm.
picking one thing off a list, the list, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes I struggle. This is something I'll say. Some days are hard. And I sit down to say, what am I thankful for? But I've got heavy stuff on my heart. I'm
Hmm.
hurting, or I'm really discouraged.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, what am I thankful for? And the first things that come to my mind are the hard things, like because they're on my mind. Well, that might not be something I'm capable of being thankful for, but I kind of look around me and I see a plant that I have on a table nearby. And as I glance at the plant, it catches my eye and I think, wow, that is really pretty. I like that. Right now I have a couple of little Christmas cacti that are sitting on a table nearby, right? And they're really fun if you know what they look like. They kind of grow out of these little pads, grow out of the next pad, grow out of the next pad, and then eventually they send out a flower bud, which is really fun and cool, right? And they can get really big. It turns out if you transplant them and give them a bigger pot, these puppies, I had one at one point, the pot's like this big and the cacti is like, yeah, it's huge. They can get really big. So anyways, so maybe the Christmas cactus catches my eye and I look at it and I think, well, I'm thankful for that little plant. I'm thankful that it's here and I can see it. And I start thinking about, why am I thankful for that? Well, first of all, I can see it. I have good eyesight.
Mhm.
But also I get to watch it grow. I
Mhm.
get to watch the changes that occur in the plant. I get to see growth.
Mhm.
I really like that. And actually, what's really cool to me is the amazing variety of life that is present in creation, in all of
Mhm.
creation, and how it
Mhm.
seems so boundless. Like
Mhm.
every single plant has some unique trait or characteristic, and like there's cajillions of them. And I'm pretty sure cajillion is a number, Sarah. I just want you to know that. There are cajillions of them, right? So I sit and I start to reflect on that. I start to reflect on, what am I grateful for? I'm just really great. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that plants are so cool and that they're uniquely designed. They serve a purpose. Their creator had something in mind when he created them, right?
Mhm.
And I get to see his creation. I'm grateful for that. That's steeping.
Okay.
That's steeping, right? And as I do this, whether it's remembering an encounter with a friend, whether it's being thankful for plants and their amazingness, whether it's being thankful for the beautiful weather today and the chance to feel the sun on my face and to be, again, out in creation, experiencing it, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that is, I ask myself questions like, what would it be like if this weren't true? What would it be like if this weren't true? What would it be like if I didn't have any friends?
Mhm.
Or what would it be like if my friends only ever showed up at places that I show up and they said, hi, how are you? But they didn't really mean it, or it wasn't deep or rich. They were just friends. What would it be like if I didn't have this particular friend who has been such a blessing in my life? I mean, she was expressing gratitude for me when she came and gave me that hug, but oh my word, she has been such a blessing to me. What would it be like if I'd never known her? Right.
Mhm.
And then I think about what I have in this thing that I'm thankful for, and I let myself feel it. I let myself feel the gratitude. I let it kind of wash over me the way the hot water washes over the tea bag. And I
Mhm.
sit in it a little bit. And then I move on to number two. And I do the same thing again.
Okay.
And I do three things. I practice it with three things when I practice gratitude. They can be big, they can be small, they can be repeats. There's
Okay.
no harm, no foul if you do a repeat. you
Yeah.
know, nobody's keeping track here. Um,
Now, as you're doing this, obviously we all know that we need to be grateful and thankful, but in your own practice of doing this, what results have you seen from that? What
uh,
change have you seen?
that's a great question. So for me, this does a couple things. Because I do it in the morning, which is not a requirement. Sometimes some people do it when they go to bed, but when I do it in the morning, it by the time I've done three, my heart and my mind are in a grateful posture.
Mhm.
I'm entering my day in a grateful posture, and that is just a great way to start a
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
I struggle with, and thankfully God helps me with this every day, but I struggle with depression. And
Mhm.
this is a real inoculation for me against the kinds of thoughts and the easy discouragement that can come.
Mhm.
There's another thing that this does that I've discovered as I've practiced it, which is when I do encounter something really hard and I didn't see it coming, I get some news I didn't expect, or I realize I have a problem and it's not a small one. And my mind is starting to go to, okay, so what does that mean? What do I have to do now? What's that going to involve? What am I going to have to change? What's going to change on my, like all those things, right? Do you know what my brain does? It finds something to be thankful for and tells me about it while I'm in the middle of it. Like right while I'm in the middle of facing a problem, there'll be this thought that goes through my head. I am so grateful that it's this and not that. Oh, and I feel the gratitude while I'm facing the problem. That is so cool,
Yeah.
right? That
Has
is,
that been a process though of you basically training your brain now?
I believe so. I
Yeah,
believe
that's
that
awesome.
because I do this practice, which in and of itself is a good practice. Many people in many realms of mental health would say this is a good practice.
Yeah.
And I incorporated it into my own life at a certain point in time when I just realized it would be helpful for me. At that particular time, I was like, I think I need some gratitude. I think I'm going to do this. And then as I began to do it, and I began to find that because it's very small and manageable, I don't have a hard time keeping up with it. Now, I don't do it every single day, 365 days a year. There are days when I'm busy. There are days
Yeah.
when my morning's flying by or I got up late or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't use the journal to do it, but I'll still stop at certain moments and go, what do I have to be grateful for right here?
Hmm.
What is it? And again, my brain doesn't even need to be asked the question.
Hmm.
It's already offering me things
Hmm.
grateful for as I'm going through because our brains are they operate out of if you use it, you'll keep it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So the
Hmm.
things I do regularly with my brain kind of goes, ooh, priority activity. She really likes that one. She needs that one a lot. And so my
Hmm.
brain just naturally, and God designed it that way, to
Hmm.
offer me what I need. Um, I think of it like learning how to maybe somebody if you've ever learned how to do like crocheting or knitting. And somebody's first starting, you have to think about every movement of both hands and the yarn and where it's going and what it's doing. You have to really think about it, right? And it's
Hmm.
kind of hard. And if you did a little bit and then you put it down for a month and you picked it up again and tried to do it again,
Hmm.
you'd feel like you were starting over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember any of this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you did a little bit, and the next day you did a little bit more, and then the next day you did a little bit more, and then somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I see you doing that. Can I show you this stitch? This is cool." And you do a
Hmm.
little bit more, and your hands and your eyes are starting to get coordinated around what this does and how it works.
Hmm.
At the same time, what your brain is doing is saying, she really seems to use that a lot. She likes that. So we're going to put that up on a kind of a front shelf where she can get it really easily. We're going to make it very accessible. It's going to be
Hmm.
naturally easy to get to that.
Hmm.
Something I haven't done in a really long time is use a machine called a serger. And it requires this really complicated threading process. And I can't remember how to do it. But if I was using my serger every day, this would not be a problem because my brain
Yeah.
offers me what I use regularly. So
Yeah.
if I'm using gratitude regularly as an intentional,
Hmm.
purposeful way to spend time in my thoughts in my brain, right? Inviting my
Hmm.
thoughts to join me in observing and reflecting on what's good, letting my body and my heart feel that goodness, right?
Hmm.
Then my brain kind of goes, yeah, she likes that. She uses it a lot. I think we'll just make sure it's really easy to get to. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're talking about the practice of it. It's something that you're going to have to make the intentional effort to do, like you
Mhm,
said. And,
mhm.
coming back to the word tells us to renew our mind, and this is a great way to do that. Obviously, neurologically, you're creating new neural pathways as you're
Yes,
doing that. But
yes,
again, it's the intentionality of it
yes,
and the fruits that come from it.
absolutely.
Joy, peace,
Mhm.
gratitude, of course. So, I mean, there's nothing bad that's coming from it, obviously. And I remember whenever you had mentioned it here, but in the hard of really, you're gonna have to work harder to try to find that sometimes. But then as you do continue to strengthen that, I guess, then it's like muscle memory. It's coming to you quicker. And
Yes.
I love that. So when you do face hard things, that
Mhm,
you can try
mhm,
to find something good in it.
mhm. Yeah, and I was gonna say that's the last piece is some days are hard. Some
Hmm.
days, some seasons of life are hard. and my
Mhm.
heart is heavy. I am discouraged. I'm struggling. I'm
Mhm.
okay, but I'm not doing great. And then, oh, it's time to practice gratitude. And at that moment, I don't really care what color the sky is.
Right.
Really, like whatever. In those moments, what has been so amazing to me is how, as I reflect on something that's hard, and this might sound weird, God invites me to express gratitude for it.
Mm.
So maybe I'm a mental health therapist. Sometimes I have clients who are not doing well, and
Mhm.
I'm bringing everything I have to the table. I'm praying for them. I'm doing all I know to do, but they are just so stuck. Maybe they even, we call it decompensation. They're decompensating. They're actually going the wrong direction, right? And I'm
Mhm.
seeing this, and it's hard. And it's hard to keep going and doing this. And part of me thinks, oh, I'm going to have to work with so and so today, and I don't really have much to offer, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's, but then I think, oh, I'm so grateful that God brings people to me that I can't help, that I get to watch Him help instead.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that I get to be the one to walk alongside this person in a really dark place. What would it
Yes.
be like if that person had no one?
Right.
And I think, oh, I'm grateful. I'm
Mhm.
grateful. And I feel the gratitude of that. And it
Mhm.
becomes part of what I carry with me into my day, into my work, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like as you're saying that too, I'm reminded just obviously to this is going to take time when you were talking about the steeping and not rushing through it, not where you're like checking off the box kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be
Mm-hmm.
something that we're going to have to be still. We're going to have to be mindful, and we're inviting the Holy Spirit into this,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully inviting the Holy Spirit into this process with us. And he is our counselor, and I feel like as we obviously change our eyes and put our eyes more on him and his
Mm-hmm.
character and who he is, and obviously that is through gratitude. I feel like he does show up and he's doing his work, but I feel like he asks us to be an active participant in that with him.
Yes, he
And,
does.
you know,
Yes, he does.
he's gracious, obviously, but I feel like when we are making the intentional effort to be with him, that's where we start to see the intimacy. We start to see healing come. We start to see growth in
Yes.
our, um,
Yes.
not necessarily our physical body, but our spirit. And that's
Oh,
where,
absolutely.
you know, God has good things for us. And I feel like, that's where we're able to come back to those promises and really try to redirect where
Mm-hmm.
our minds are trying to go. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I was just so grateful for your time and when you came and just presented this practice to us because I really I hope ladies that you guys try this for yourselves because I started doing it, Elizabeth brought these for us that night. And it's just a small little journal with a little pen, but I write my date and I write the question and I started steeping. And so I want to encourage you guys to start and just see what happens. And
Yeah.
I think, like she said, it doesn't have to be necessarily an everyday thing, life gets in the way, but I think just the desire and any, um, I think effort we put towards it, I feel like God honors that. And so, thank you, Elizabeth, for being here with us today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you're going to come back and speak to
I'd
us about
love to.
things. She's an amazing woman, guys, and you'll be seeing her around Project 31 more as we go forward. So thanks again for being here with us. We really are grateful for you today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.